Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's coming up on 1 o'clock Central Time. I'll get started here. Just going through a couple of last minute technical checks, make sure sound is okay and the screen is showing, which it looks like everything is good to go. All righty, so just bear with me here. And we'll get started. Okay, great. I see a bunch of yeses there, and it's good. Good. Again, I'm glad you guys are able to take some time out from these crazy markets. It's this all this inflation stuff that's going on. It's kind of depressing, actually. And you go to the store, you're spending more on food. You're going to the gas station. Obviously, we're spending a heck of a lot more on gas, and y- you know, unfortunately you look at your paycheck a lot of times, it's not growing. It's not growing as much as you'd like it to grow. And so sometimes you got to supplement that income through, you know, other means. And, for a lot of people, it's trading. And what I want to talk about today is the new indicator that we have from Orderflows, which is called the Flowsmasher. And, it's a great tool that, in my opinion, can help, it's going to help many traders. And, a lot of traders struggle with order flow, right? They struggle trying to make sense of all the numbers that are coming through because it is intimidating. And we create these tools to help traders, shorten that learning curve, so to speak. Now, before we begin, again, we're all adults in the room. We do understand the risks involved in trading. Now, when you really think about it, there's trading. People trade on an institutional level for two reasons, right? To increase their risk in order to make more money, right? They're going to put on bigger positions. Their risk is going to increase because they want to ultimately make more money in the market. Or two, they want to reduce the risk of losing money in the market. And when a trader wants to increase or reduce their risk, they have to step up to the plate and trade. And when big traders trade, volume naturally is going to increase. And when the market starts trading through, above average solid volume, it's a sign of a healthy market, right? I mean, that's, sort of goes back to, the, uh, I'll say the early days of technical analysis, but, you know, volume, I believe it was Granville who said, volume is the, fuel to make the engine go further and further, the engine being the markets. Now, the way I like to think of it is, it's a bit like Pac-Man, right? You have to sort of work your way through volume, right, to get to the prize. Ultimately, it's going to be in Pac-Man, it's the cherries, it's the fruits, and you're going to be running into those goblins, people, the Fed or news announcements, etc. But ultimately, to get to where you want to go, market has to eat through size. And it's hard for a lot of traders to understand the size that's going through in the market. And when you're looking at a footprint chart, a lot of times people don't realize that, the volume that's just occurring preceding where you're trading right now will affect how the market is going to trade in the near term, right? The volume that's happening, over these bars right in here, you know, at this is at 6:40 this morning, right? You got 1, 2, 3. The volume that's appearing here affects how this market can potentially come out and move, right? This is ultra bonds. This is just a couple hours ago. The volume that's happening right in here, right before the signal kicks off, is needs to be analyzed, right? Is that volume picking up in the sense of are the one, do you have sort of people putting in bigger orders, but two, obviously, do you have people trading those orders? It's one thing to have big orders hit the market. You need to have, people eat through that, and that's a big thing. People that look at, resting liquidity. Okay, nothing wrong with looking at resting liquidity. A lot of the issue that I see with a lot of traders is they don't understand that when the market is eating through solid volume, right? It's a market with a head of steam. It's going to keep going. It's going to often keep moving. Now, it's easy if you're looking at a book map to see where these areas are. And honestly, when you're looking at things like a heat map, market depth, you see big size, people like to fade it, right? They like to jump in front. And now with the advent of execution algos and orders getting split up, chopped up every which way, people are hiding their intentions or hiding their size. So, sometimes you do see it on the market depth. Oftentimes you don't see it, but where you do see it is when it trades in the market. And to be honest, the volume that's trading in here looks pretty average, right? But unless you understand the volume that's going through, the relative volume, meaning relative to what's just been trading, right? If it's increasing, and sometimes it's very discrete, right? You don't really notice it. And that's why these banks and trading firms pay millions of dollars to their IT department to develop these algos to really massage their orders in without affecting the market. But when this volume's, I call it a little bit of a spike, and spike is not the best phrase to use because when you think of spike, you think a big jump. But really what you're seeing is sort of, more volume getting sort of massaged into the market. And, that's a sign of a market that's often ready to make a move. Okay. Now, what the Flowsmasher does, it's going to analyze the volumes, obviously in the bar that we're in, and we're going to start comparing it to volumes in the bars just preceding it, right? Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that just because you have a big volume bar that automatically, it's a trade. No, here, this is 894, over here it's 1,000. But you start analyzing how the volumes are going through, relative to that volume spike. And it's not just the total volume, right? It breaks it down by volume traded on the bid, volume traded on the offer within certain areas within the bars. There's certain boundaries that you're going to be looking for in the order flow. I mean, you don't have to. The Flowsmasher will do that for you. So let's just take a look at the settings really quick. I'm going to take you through some actual charts in a minute, but I just want to take you through some of these settings. Now, some of the people that they have got the version already have been saying that I'm going to be uploading a newer version, right? For some reason, the version that a couple users have doesn't have the region 1, region 2, but by this afternoon, it's going to be all sorted out. It's, sometimes you just got to refresh the link. I think, it had the old version, but if you just refresh the link, it should give you that new version. But there's basically what Flowsmasher does is it breaks down order flow in a bar by regions. Okay, there's region 1, region 2, and there's another area called flow expansion. Okay, we also have a swing filter. So if you're looking for sort of swing highs or swing lows, you can determine the length of the swing high or swing low. Okay, but really what I'll focus on are the different regions. Now, originally when I watched the order flow, it was region 1, right? That was the certain area in the bar that would be analyzed. Let me get my pointer here. It'd be analyzed, certain areas within the bar where the volume is, and then it's going to start comparing it, how's the total volume of the bar relative to previous bars, and how is that order flow in that region of the bars being compared to previous regions as well. And as serendipity would have it, it became, I was just looking at it from one angle, but then once we were able to put it down into an indicator, well, I was doing it anyway. One is the flow expansion, which is this other setting down here, which would expand the area, expands the region a little bit, right? Because, on more volatile markets, it's going to, volume is going to be spread out in the bar, right? I mean, you can't look at, say, a NASDAQ bar and treat it the same you would an ultra bond bar, right? You have to expand the area of analysis just because, the price discovery is taking a lot longer, a lot further than, on a tighter market like, ultra bonds or 10 years or regular bonds. But the region 2, right, is just, it's similar to region 1. It's just another area in the bar that once we're able to start breaking it down, with the computer and look at different areas, we found this to be a highly useful area as well. And, honestly, one of the testers is like, what, you could actually run it separately as a separate indicator in the sense of, have region 1 running, on one chart, have region 2 on another chart. Of course, you could put them both on the same chart as well. You could even, what some people have been telling me they were doing was they would use, and again, I'll show you when we get to the different charts, on the regions, splitting it up on a chart, you could actually put two instances of Flowsmasher. So you just, add it again, and you'd have one showing just region one, another one with region two, and you just change the colors, okay? But when I get to the actual charts, it'll all make sense. Now, best markets to trade. Again, I'm a futures trader. My focus has always been on futures markets ever since I got started, right? I started on the CME floor, and I'm from Chicago. If I was in New York, who knows, might be equities. But everything that I design and we get programmed is mainly for futures markets. And the reason for that is, the data comes from one source, comes from the exchange. When you start looking at things like Forex and even, stocks, you get all these different data sources, so to speak. But futures markets, definitely. Stocks, I prefer, if you're going to look at stocks, I suggest you look at the main, the Dow 30 stocks for sure, and, some of the bigger NASDAQ stocks. I don't recommend, getting involved in these penny stocks. I also love commodities. Commodities is great for trading order flows. You don't get the crazy swings you do like you get in equities. So, like just, the last couple of days. Bonds are also good markets to trade. Right now, some of the metals, gold, copper, are great to follow. Crude oil, again, it's a bit volatile. You're getting, $2, $3 moves, pretty quick in there, and it's just the price discovery is happening super fast. It's sort of trading like Nasdaq. Now, chart types: time-based, tick-based, volume-based. Okay, those are the ones that I prefer. Renko, I know some people that love Renkos. I've never really been a big fan of, and generally order flow, the way Renko charts are constructed, order flow doesn't really fit in well. I do know some people that use Heikin-Ashi with order flow as well, but I'm a old school person. I stick with time-based charts, tick-based, volume-based. Now, one thing to keep in mind, right, if you're using tick-based charts or volume-based charts, when you're trading overnight, like Asian session, European session, you're going to run into those areas where you just have the light volumes, okay? And it's just going to take time for everything to sort of form, right? I mean, you look at a tick-based chart during the U.S. hours, and sometimes depending on your duration of the tick base, 50 bit, say it's ultra bonds a 50 tick chart. It could trade almost as a 1 minute chart, whereas overnight is trading like a 10-minute chart, 15-minute chart. So just bear that in mind. And before I get into some of these markets and the settings, volatile markets, okay. you know, I get emails from traders, oh, it's been tough lately in the markets. Well, if the markets are too volatile, just stay away. Honestly, extremely volatile markets are going to cause traders to struggle. I mean, right now, what's the VIX at? VIX is like at 32, right? It's quite high. It's strange because it's VIX above 25 lately has just been being normalized. And if you're in a market like M&Q, it's volumes are just going to be spread out, and it's going to be hard to do any sort of, in my opinion, useful order flow analysis. But that's why we added the flow expansion, is to sort of widen out the area that the order flow will look at. And you could also add a swing filter. You'd start with one, as your base, and sort of work your way up. Now, I say start at one, I don't mean try 1, 2, 3, 4. You go 1, and you maybe shoot it up to like 5 or 3, and then 5, and then 10. You want sort of what's the word? Legitimate swings. 1 being the smallest, right? Meaning that it would have to be higher than the previous bar or lower than the previous bars. Now, okay, so settings. Generally, when I talk about settings, I break it down into 4 types. I call what I call short term, which is like 30 seconds to 1 minute. And to be honest, if you're looking at a 30-second chart, that would be on markets that are a bit more volatile. And again, it's it's one of those things, some people get scared thinking, oh, I gotta look at a 30-second chart. No, you don't have to. If you're using a 1-minute chart, you're comfortable, stay with it. But me, when market volatility picks up, I tend to go a little bit shorter time frame rather than longer time frame, because I go longer time frame, then on a volatile market, you're putting more at risk, right? Because as volatility picks up and your normal, say 10-point stop in NASDAQ, all of a sudden now you're using a 20, 25-point stop. I mean, I'd rather just shrink it down a little bit and try and keep a realistic stop intact. Longer term, when I talk about longer term, I mean 5 minutes or more. Tick based, I generally stick with certain levels, 50, 100, 200, maybe in ES, yeah, you could probably go 500. And volume based, again, depending on the market, if it's a smaller market, you could use 250 as the volume, even though I got 500 written there. But like for E-minis, 1,000, 2,000. Now again, it's up to you whether you want to use you want to use a fib number, 987 ticks, or 987 volume, whatever, 1587. It's, you could adjust it, right? It's not set in stone, but generally that's my guidelines. So I'll start with bunds. Okay, let me get the chart up here. So for bunds, where's my chart? Whoops, not that chart. Where are you here? Okay, bunds here. So let's just take a look at the settings here. So open it up. And okay, so this is region 2 right now. So region 1, actually I have a region 1 on here. Guess not. We'll go back to region 1 then. Region 1 is where I always start out at. Okay, region 1 is how I originally programmed the indicator based on how I would look at the order flow. Okay, region 1, I'm not using flow expansion. Again, this is just your vanilla 1-minute chart. Okay, and again, you can see these signals here. Let me get the crosshairs up. Okay, so this is region 1, right? Seeing some cells in here. Again, it doesn't, these moves don't look like much, but this is actually a decent move from 62, 30 tick move here, but it's catching some nice moves up. Now region 2, or before I get to region 2, let me explain flow expansion. Okay, now honestly, on a market like bunds, I probably wouldn't use flow expansion simply because the market trades pretty normal. It's not, you're not getting wide price bars in the sense of it's moving 10, 20 ticks within a minute. It's generally a pretty stable market. But if I were to add flow expansion, you're going to see more more signals, right? You can see here there's decidedly more. It's because it's expanding the area of analysis. All right, that's what flow expansion does. Now on bunds, like I said, I probably wouldn't recommend it for most traders. Just because bunds is a pretty stable market. Obviously, there's a lot of talk, what's ECB going to do? Fed was, did 75. I think there was an emergency meeting with in Europe with the central bank, but generally it's a pretty normal market. Okay, now you can see the signals here for region 1. If I were to go to region 2, right, it's going to be a different set of signals because it's looking at different things, different areas in the order flow and doing different comparisons, right? That's what it's comparing, not just what's happening in this bar, but it's comparing the current order flow with previous bars. Okay, so again, you can still see, right, it's sort of keeping you still on the right side of the market. Now, if you want to compare them together, just really quick here, we'll do it this way. Again, I have no swing filter turned on here. What I'll do is I'll just change the colors. So the region 2 is your blue and red, and for region 1, we'll make it cyan, just for visual purposes here. Cyan and magenta. Okay. So you won't get, since they look at different areas, region 1, region 2, the areas of analysis is different, right? The signals are going to be different. So you could see this light blue is the region 1, the dark blue is region 2. Okay. So for example, right, the region 1 caught that sell-off that happened after, basically after 12 from, 143.50 down to 143 even. Region 2 did not. Okay, so there's those slight differences by looking at region 1, region 2. Well, some people will put them both up there, okay, and just look at all of them, right? They want to see all the signals that come through. Now, if I had flow expansion on both of these, right, you're going to see a lot more signals. So just give it a second here. Then I'll sort of get into, so you can see there's a lot more signals. And again, depending on the type of trader you are, some people love a lot of signals, right? Because they're just really looking to sort of scalp just a few ticks here and there. This is one way that you can do it, right? If you really want to, if you're a very active trader and you're just looking to scalp a tick here and there. Now, if you really want to start filtering out trades, looking for swing highs or swing lows, then you just click on the swing filter, right? The default is 5, and if you want, so it would have to be a swing high by at least 5 bars. Let me set that up, and a lot of those signals are going to disappear, right? Because now it's looking for a swing high or swing low in addition to the order flow. Okay, so again, you're just seeing, just a few signals here now, right? Not much. Again, I would really only use the swing filter in more volatile markets, markets that take longer for price discovery, for price to transact at solid volumes, right? And bunds, again, is one of those markets that is fairly normal, right? You don't necessarily have to, worry about a lot of herky-jerky movements, somebody sneezed and the market rallied 3 points or anything like that. So um, that is bunds. Again, for bunds, region 1, you can compare region 1, region 2, but flow expansion, I would not use flow expansion in there. Now, let's take a look at ultra bonds. Okay, ultra bonds is a great market, right? I'll get to equities in a minute, but I'd rather talk about some of these other markets that are often overlooked by traders. Basically, they think that a lot of traders come to the market. Everyone's always talking about E-minis, always talking about Nasdaq, but there's really a whole plethora, if you will, of markets out there that are very tradable, right? And I don't have time to go into it, but if you've ever looked at the order flow in commodities, right? It follows commodities, or commodities follow the order flow very nicely. The reason for that, in my opinion, is because the participants are different, right? You don't have that big retail participation that's, sort of like this herd mentality. The only herd mentality you have are, the big users of the products, people that are buying the corn, people that are buying the wheat, that have to use it, right? And that's why you see great trends oftentimes in commodities, that trends that run for really long periods, is because you have that collective of end users that need to buy the commodity, right? They need it because they need to manufacture stuff. In things like, S&Ps, Russell, people aren't buying it to use it, they're buying it to speculate. So you don't have that necessarily that speculation. So this is a 50 tick chart in ultra bonds. Okay, so start with region 1. Okay, so here's my notes, right? Start with region 1 compared to region 2. Then watch when I'm going to add in, whatchamacallit, flow expansion. Okay, so just to make it easy rather than keep flipping through the charts, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the region 1, region 2. For region 2, I'm just going to make it a different color just to sort of differentiate it. Cyan and magenta. Just so you get the idea of, should I be using region 1 or region 2? Now there's some markets, right? And this was the great, I'll say discovery, but the great thing of being able to do this analysis a lot easier with computer is it. There's some markets where region 2 just really dominates. I sent you guys a bunch of charts yesterday with just region 2, like in the E-minis, ultra bonds, and euro currency, right? With just region 2 enabled. So you can see here, right? The blue and red is the normal region 1. This magenta, this cyan buy, this magenta sell is region 2, right? This is another magenta sell. Okay. Now, again, if you were to say you were to add flow expansion, I wouldn't add flow expansion on a tight market like actually it is on here already, but let's take it off there. I would not add flow expansion on the ultra bond on a 50 tick chart if, again, flow expansion is really meant for markets that are a bit more volatile. So here we go. Okay, so again, there's your signals. Okay, now again, if you add flow expansion, you will see more trades. And then obviously the next step is, sometimes people get scared, oh my gosh, there's so many trades, I don't want all these trades, they just want to take, sort of the market turning points. That's when you would use a swing filter. What was it, 5. I say you can start at 1. Let's take a look at 1, okay, for both of these. Okay, so you can see this one will probably go away, a bunch of these will go away. I'll see what we're left with here. Okay, so this is a swing filter of 1. It's a lot cleaner, right? And you're getting some nice trades. Obviously, you got that nice move down, a little pop here, a little move there, a little move there. Right? If you were to expand it out to say 5, again, when you expand your swing filter out more, you're going to start seeing lesser and lesser trades, right? So you don't have your sell signal over here, but you're still getting these major turning points in the market. Okay, so close that down. Now let's go on to a little bit longer time frame. Let's talk about 5-minute charts. Okay, so MES, euro currency, I would use the same, right? On longer term charts, I would start with both areas of the order flow, region 1, region 2, and the flow expansion. So sort of getting in here, I think this is my 5-minute chart, okay? Now, actually I got 2 here. So this one, the first one is, this is just region 1 with flow expansion, okay? You see a couple signals, caught that nice trend since last night, since basically overnight 38. Once it broke right here, that big bar down, and then obviously continued on down. This is region 1. This one is region 2 and region 1. Okay, take off region 1 there. Euro currency. This is a 5-minute chart while I'm waiting for the MES to come back up. This is region 1 and region 2, right, with flow expansion. So, when I'm looking at longer term, I like to put them all up there. And again, you can differentiate which is region 1, region 2 by simply going into the setting and change, you just basically what you'd want to do if you want to look at both of them sort of separately is you just add two instances of it, right? So you got 1, 2, you just make one region 1 and the other one region 2, just change the color. So that, because you're going to find sometimes that, some markets, depending on the chart type, but there's just so many different chart types out there that people look at, trying to cover them all is too much. Because, sometimes I get messages from people and they're like, oh, I use this type of chart type. How does the indicator work on that? And really I can't give an answer because I've never looked at that type of chart. I got to pull it up. Um, just because I do realize, everybody has their own different view of the market, sort of the longer term views of the market or shorter term views. Again, I know people that use three range bars sometimes. Um, and it's just, I'm like, how's that working for you? But they're able to make it work. Me personally, I have a nervous breakdown if I was looking at a three range chart, especially with the way the market moves. So you could see here, right, the cyan, sort of the different colors coming in. So my MES chart hasn't come back up yet, but just give it a second. Still forming. Now, I'm going to get to questions in a second, but a question that people ask, markers, right? The automated system, well, not system, right? The tool from the indicator store, Pablo, that allows traders to um, automate an indicator. Yes, it does work with markers. These are the instructions. And I'm going to add this into the user guide. I didn't have it in the user guide earlier, but it's really simple to set up in markers. And again, if you've ever used markers and a little bit comfortable with it, it'll literally take you about a minute or two to set it up in markers, to run. And let's see here. Okay, so back to this MES. I'm going to take you through markers in a second here. But you can see here, right? So this is region 2. This chart is region 1, right? So obviously on region 2, you did have that sell-off, but then you had the buy signal. The market kept selling off. You got your sell signal here, which again sort of corresponds with some sell signals sort of coming in around that same area-ish. It's a little bit lower on, a bar or two lower after the two sell signals there. Gold, okay, this 100 tick chart in the gold. Gold was a nice mover today, right? You can see, yeah, okay, you had a small trade here, maybe a small loss here, a loss here. Then you get a trade here, small loss, then you catch that big runner right here. I mean, look how this thing just kept running, right? You get a small little trade here, but again, 1838 in here, right? This is 37 actually, 37.30 right in here, all the way up into the 50s and higher. And this one is, I think this one's region 2, 2 with the swing filter on and flow expansion. Let's look at another chart. So this is Euro currency. What do I got on here? Again, this one, not the prettiest chart. This is just plain region 1. I was explaining in the emails yesterday, region 2 is something you want to look at, but look at this. Okay, so people say, well, you got stopped out here. Well, this doesn't look like much of a move, but it's actually what is that move? I mean, euro currency is moving nicely. You're talking a move from about 17. It's about a 15-point move here. Just lately, the market's been rocking and rolling, right? So you get stopped out here, you get stopped out here, then you catch the big runner from, 104.60 all the way up. Even if you cut it here, 105.17. A 60-point 60 tick move in the euro currency, right? This is the euro currency with region 2. That was region 1. This is region 2. Okay, so again, chart's a bit different, right? You get a bit more frequent signals, right? That's why we've added both region 1 and region 2, because some people, I realize, may prefer um, using both of them. Okay, now let me do something here really quick. I'm going to switch off onto, I'm going to go through the setup really quick for markers. So I'm going to disconnect there. Again, I don't have a lot of data loaded up in here on my chart. I was going to take you through the ultra bonds really quick, but while that's loading, just a couple questions I saw. What is it based on the order flow? Okay, so again, what it's looking at, right? I don't know if I could make this bigger laser pointer here. Yeah, is you're seeing the signal coming on this bar, right? The conditions are being met because what is being analyzed in the order flow throughout this bar, right, is being compared to the previous bars. Right? So it's not just taking, well, how's the trading happening in this bar? Is it strong? Well, it is. It's right. It's taking what's happening now and realizes it's strong. But not only that, how does it compare to the recent activity? Right? Is it strong or not? Or is it just sort of your normal order flow that's going through? Right? Just like here in the ultra bonds today, right? You're seeing it sort of shape up in here, right? That the volume's picking up in here. But it's one thing to have volume just start to pick up. How does that compare to the volume that was just trading immediately before it, right? And it's not just the total volumes of the bar. People say, well, I figured it out. You see the volume spiked up to 503. That's it. No, it's not. It's watching how it's being traded in the bar relative to how it was being traded in the previous bars, And, it's finding out those areas where you're starting to see that increase, right? And many of us aren't privy to, sort of how these execution algos work, right? Like TWAP, VWAP. But I've been fortunate enough that I've been exposed to that at working at JP Morgan at that time when all these execution algos were starting to um, really take hold in the marketplace. In the past, the execution algo was a guy sitting at the desk executing it manually with a little timer, a little egg timer, so to speak, those digital timers, watching the market. Whereas now it's all being programmed into computers. And when these firms create these algos, these execution algos, they're looking at VWAP. How does it know, right? They even got these TWAP. It's looking at volume relative to previous volumes, right? And some of these things are quite sophisticated. I know that, for example, right, people have orders. They say, I'll execute my order starting at 9 a.m. and run it until 9:30. Okay. Now, in the old days, what a broker would do was they would execute the order starting at 9. Okay, the order's for what? 100 contracts. They just split it up over that half-hour period. Now, all they do is just enter the details in. Okay, buy 500 E-minis starting at 9 until 9:30 and beat VWAP, right? So it's not going to just take what's happening right now. It also looks at how the volumes were over time, over the last 10 days, the last 50 days, et cetera, to compare it. So it has a benchmark of knowing, should it be speeding up or not? They just, these guys, they just love massaging data in that sense, but it doesn't have to be that complex, right? Everyone likes to make it complex, but really what you're looking for is that jump in volume, right? And oftentimes it's pretty subtle. It doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. It's a gradual buildup, right? Because what's happening is now you have the big traders using their execution algos executing more and more, right? As this market starts inching away, right, from its sort of its balance area. All right, so okay, so here I am. Hopefully I'm all set up. Um, getting set up on this market replay here. All right, so where is my chart? This one here. All right, so I've already got it set up here, but I'll just take you through the setup really quick. You know what you're going to do when you set it up on markers. Again, you don't get markers. Obviously, this is meant for people that already have markers. Okay, just show you the setup on how simple it is. All you really got to do is I like to use markers copy. Okay, and so there's markers of force and there's markers copy. All you got to do, right, is you just go in there, you add markers copy twice, one for the buys, one for the sells, and you're going to add markers the force. And again, when you go inside, you do have to make a couple adjustments, right? I do also add the actual indicator, the Flowsmasher on there. But once you're inside, okay, you have to make some adjustments. I use fast signals mode, right? So enable longs, enable shorts, change the fast signal name from long and short. And again, depending on your account size, you could adjust the max daily profit, max daily loss. And then also add in markers copy, again, one for the buys, one for the sells. And you just change the variable name to longs, right? Because you already told it to look for longs. You got to enable fast signal mode. Then on each tick, and I always change the plot to the same, so for buys, it's blue triangle up, right, size of 8. But then in here, right, the input series, you have to go in and set up the Flowsmasher, okay? So, you just click on that, wait for the box to oh, here it is. So my NinjaTrader is acting up. You just add Flowsmasher, right? Then you just change it to whatever settings you want to use it for, right? Region 1, I'm just going to have it for region 1 on this example. You change this plot to buy signal, okay? And you do the same thing for the sell, right? You'd go into the other instance of markers copy and change it to sell. Same thing, right? But you'd change this variable to short, so whatever you named it under markers plus the force. Obviously, you got to go back to the input series, make sure you enable it to the right settings that you're looking for, and you got to make sure you tell it to look for the shorts, okay? Because you got to have one for buys, one for sells. Again, once you're familiar with the program, it's very easy to use, right? So you would just set it to whatever setting, right? Region 1, and I just make sure I change this here from buy signal to sell signal, okay? Simple. And again, I would just change it to calculate on each tick, and you're going to copy, all right, make sure the plots are the same, and that's it, okay? And then, when you're going to use it, you just make sure you got it turned on, make sure you have your right ATM strategy showing up in here, your account matches up. Those are just sort of those like last minute checks that you'd go through before you start running anything. Wish continue. No, I don't know what I pressed. I pressed something there. And that's it basically, right? That's how you would set it up, right? I just have it set up here in playback. I'm just using a vanilla ATM strategy that I have of 8 by 10. Just to sort of take you through it. Like, at night, like I was saying earlier, right? At night, it's you can't use Flowsmasher at overnight sessions, right? A lot of the markets have very tradable order flow overnight. Um, I watch the overnights. I got kids, so I stay up late. My kids, for some reason, love staying up until last night. They're up until 2 in the morning. So I tend to find myself there, right? It got into the trade. Now, again, for me, when I use markers, I like to manage the trade rather than just, leaving a take profit, take or my take profit or my stop just at sort of arbitrary level. I won't say arbitrary levels, but fixed dollar amounts. I like to watch the order flow, and just if it's conducive, if market's trending in my way, move the order, right? Move my take profit to a more advantageous spot. Or if I start seeing order flow come in, again, I'm showing you this on a bar chart. You could use it on a footprint chart, as well. You're not limited. Now you do need to use tick replay. Okay, you have to have it enabled tick replay on your system. It's very simple to do. I've got tutorials out there about it and all that. So again, that's how easy it is to set up on markers. So I'm going to take some questions here. Okay, there's a question here for an order flow. Is this an indicator good starting point? Yeah, I actually recommend some of my indicators as a starting point, just to, sort of give people a leg up on getting used to order flow, because oftentimes, when you're watching order flow, a lot of traders don't know what to look for. So it's just one of those things that, is going to help you in the long run by giving you a little bit, as you get better with order flow, maybe you start moving away from an indicator, or you just keep it on there, but now you're looking at certain things, because honestly, um, it's one of those that you just want to really get up to speed as quickly. Key asks, I sent you an order. I'll take a look, Key. I didn't see your email. Let me make a note here. I'll take a look. It might be in my spam folder. Um, where would one execute on the buy or sell signal? Okay, well, you have a buy or sell signal. Now, we have what we call the trade entry signal. So if you're using the trade entry signal, let me just stop this here. So like you're using the trade entry signal, okay? You'll notice, right, there's some zones being drawn out here, right? It's telling you the order flow is met, but you don't see a red triangle for a sell or a blue triangle for a buy. You see one here, you see a couple here. That's telling you that's the time to get into the trade, because when you're using the trade entry signal, what it does is it basically confirms it. It has a confirmation process. Basically, the market is moving in your direction. So not only do you have the order flow, it also has follow through order flow, right? So instead of, getting long in here, right, it's keeping you up because you don't have that follow through order flow. Even though the market ticked up, oh 05, 06, it didn't do it in a quick enough fashion, right? That's another feature that we have already programmed in there if you want to use it. It's right here. If you disable the straight entry signal, then you'll get a sell signal here, a buy signal here, a sell signal there. You'll get a sell signal here, you get a buy signal here, right? Do you want to take this buy? No, there was no follow through order flow. Even though the conditions were sort of being met here, you still need the follow through order flow. It's just not there. It's just not happening, right? In here, you are getting that follow through order flow. Flow breaks. Okay, all my indicators are different. Okay, they're all based on different aspects of the order flow. And this is a question I get often is, is this the same? Sometimes the names look the same, but no, they're different. The order flow is so robust. And again, that's, I want to talk about it here really quick. I sort of got away from my slides, but when you get the Flowsmasher, right? Next week, I'm doing a order flow nuances workshop, right? And I want to talk about all of these little different nuances, because, what traders do is, they find the part of order flow that resonates with them, right? That just sits well, that they just understand, they know exactly what to look for in the order flow, right? And they just focus on that. And I'm going to take you through a bunch of those instances. And again, this is when you get the Flowsmasher, I'm going to give you access to it's the pages. it's ready. It's going to be a live session on Thursday and Friday next week, and there will be recordings. But if you want to, you'll get access to it with the Flowsmasher. So you could either join in on the live sessions, or if you can't attend the live sessions, you'll have access to the replays. This is just this is a bonus I want to throw in to the Flowsmasher, because I do want traders to understand different ways to look at the markets through order flow, rather than just sort of focusing on one thing. Because at the end of the day, what's happening in the markets, there's so many different little levers being pulled, pushed, pulled, that there's instances where looking at this might be better for you as opposed to looking at this, right? Different way to look at point of control as opposed to or comparing where point of control is appearing in a bar, where imbalances are appearing in a bar, how these different little nuances appear. And again, you're going to get access to this order flow nuances workshop that I'm putting on next week, and you're not going to be charged for it, right? We access, people that want access to it that haven't bought Flowsmasher are going to have to pay for it, right? They're going to, this is the page here. We're still working on it, and sort of getting into sort of the details of it, of what's going to be covered. Thanks, Key. I'll take a look right after this. Okay, because Richard had asked, does the arrow plot when the bar opens or when it closes? It looks like to our counting from when it opens. Now okay, if you're using the trade entry signal, it will appear once the bar closes, right? And once the bar closes, that's it, right? The signal is printed, it won't change. If you're not using the trade entry signal, as soon as the conditions are met, you're going to see the triangle. But if the bar is still open, right? If it's say you're using a 1-minute bar and it's only 35 seconds into the bar, you still got 25 seconds left. It can repaint or disappear rather, because the conditions change. But once the bar closes, if it's there, it will always remain there. It won't change. Another question. Yeah, John, you can use it as a standalone indicator, right? You see me, I have it on a normal bar chart here, right? I don't have the footprint chart running. Well, if you're going to use it, obviously any of my order flow tools, especially this one, is tick replay. Tick replay, NinjaTrader 8, when they released it a couple years ago, more than a couple years ago, and the big difference was how it handled historical data. And by enabling tick replay, it allows you to analyze past order flow. So yeah, you have to have tick replay enabled, but yeah, you can use it as a standalone indicator on NinjaTrader, right? All these charts are standalone charts. I have it on a footprint. I have it on a normal bar chart, right? Just showing, where they appear. A question, those candles with the numbers inside them, you don't need that. No, you don't need to use a footprint chart, right? The question was, do I need to use, where's my footprint here? Do I need to use a footprint chart like this to use it? No, you don't. You run it on a normal bar chart, right? Your normal bar chart, okay? Your normal bar chart. So yeah, you could use it on a normal bar chart. Ed, yeah, Ed, I saw your email. We're going to take care of that. So Mina asks, what region 1 and region 2 refer to? What it refers to, region 1, region 2, is where, so for example, right, where in the bar that it's analyzing the order flow to compare it to the previous bars. So originally region 1 was when I would trade order flow without, just basically the naked footprint chart like this, looking for actionable order flow. That was just region 1. We opened up to region 2 once we started doing additional analysis of the order flow. Let's see here. Ed, how about volume or delta charts? Well, again, I just showed you it would be the same. Actually, I don't have delta volume charts. Volume charts, again, it would be the same. You'd be looking at the same. I'll cut this on historic playback. Let me just go back to, uh, hang on a sec here. So let's just take a look here. All right. So for example, well, gold, okay, tick chart, okay. Let's see if I could change it to a volume chart. I don't know what you want to change it to. If I change it to a volume chart, the same thing. I would start with the same settings and go from there. Brian, Brian, I didn't see your emails, Brian. I apologize. That's why I haven't gotten back. Let's see here. Let's see. Um, John, well, the workshop is really meant for people on a footprint chart because it's going to be hard to see things, um, on a regular bar chart, right? So you can see here, okay, so there's some trades. This is a 200 volume chart, but again, it's the same. It's the same setting that I had on the, what was it, 100 tick chart, I think it was. This was region 2 with the swing filter and flow expansion. Um, Ted asks, what is the best order flow indicators? Well, if you're just looking at indicators itself, um, because there are a few that I got out there, and it really depends on the type of trader you are. For one, are you more of a shorter term trader, like a scalper, or are you a bit of a longer term? If you're a shorter term, all the flows indicators that I have, like the Flowsmasher, um, Flow Scalper, those are good for shorter term traders. More of a swing term, I'll say swing traders, but a bit more longer term. Um, I'd look at some of the other tools like Turns, Pulse, Delta Scalper as well. So again, I've been working on a sort of like a spreadsheet that compares and talks about the different indicators, so you could get a better idea of what type of indicator would suit you. Um, just really quick, like someone had asked, what's the difference between say Pulse and Flowsmasher? Well, Pulse, what the Orderflows Pulse looks for is momentum picking up, because momentum can just shift really faster. What the Flowsmasher does, it looks at different aspect of the order flow, but it's taking it relative to certain period that, say, the Pulse obviously doesn't take that into account at all, and it's just really looking for order flow within the bar, not relative to um, a certain period prior to that bar. Well, all right, guys. Again, I don't want to keep you guys on all afternoon. We've been on for about an hour. So again, if you want to get the Flowsmasher, right now we got that introductory price, and if you want access to the workshop for free, just go ahead and get started. So yeah, RB, I'll get that out when we get it all together. So again, and if you got any questions, just shoot me an email. Key, I'll take a look at the emails. Brian, I'll search again for your emails. Maybe I missed it, but hopefully you guys found this useful. And again, these markets are crazy now, and it takes more than one way to look at the market sometimes. And that's why we have these tools, because we do realize, we do know that market conditions are constantly changing. So, sometimes people will say, well, I have a mean reversion system. Well, okay, on a day like today, that's been selling off since midnight last night, your mean reversion, how's that working for you? We're in a strong trend day down. So have a great rest of your day, everybody, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye.